Hello, I'm Shane from Lonely Viking, and I'm back today with another tutorial. So yesterday in our Lonely Viking Facebook group, which by the way if you want to join, there's a link down below this video, and if you do decide to join, please answer the questions. So many people try to join, they don't answer the questions, and then we don't let them in, and it just makes me sad. And so if you don't want to make me sad and you do want to join the group, then just answer the questions. They're 3 little questions. Anyway, I get off track. So in the Facebook group, I posted a question saying, what does everybody want to learn? So just open-ended, and I put a few little things there that I feel like I could probably teach a little bit. And so somebody commented and said they've just started with Illustrator and they need some help to understand the basics of Illustrator, how to get started. So I decided that I will fire up Adobe Illustrator, and so today I'm going to do that, and I'm going to explain the difference between Illustrator and something like Photoshop, so why Illustrator exists essentially, and then just go through the basics of it, just going through the shape tools and some of those things. And so I hope you enjoy it. Let's jump on over to my screen and I'll catch you after that. Okay, so here we are. I've opened Illustrator, and now it's asking me, it's saying, do you want to make a new document? And so I'm just going to stick with the default here, which is 1920 by 1080. It's set to pixels. There's a lot of detail that can go into this, points and millimeters, centimeters, depends what you're designing for, right? So most of us do web if you're watching this channel, so we'll keep it at pixels just for that reason. But you don't really do much web, well, I don't really do much web stuff in Illustrator. But anyway, let's just stick with the default, create. Okay, so here we are, we've got a blank canvas. So what do we do now? Well, the first thing is that we've got to understand the reason for Illustrator. So Illustrator is different than something like Photoshop, which works with pixels. Those are bitmap images, they're pixel-based images, and so they're finite, if I can put it that way. When you scale, you'll know if you scale a photo too big, it starts to get pixelated because the information's not there. With something like Illustrator, you're creating paths which are mathematical calculations, and so in theory you can infinitely scale your designs that you've done in Illustrator. So let me show you what I mean quickly. So if we go over here, this is the rectangle tool, and these shape tools you'll use a lot, so this is something worth knowing. Get the shape tools. If you click and hold, it shows you the other tools. I'm just gonna get a star for now. So you just click and drag, and if you see down here these colors, this is the full color, which is the inside color, and the outside is the stroke. If you click that, it'll switch them around. If you select one of them and select here, it will change that to no color. So now if I hit V for the select tool, which is that one up there, and if you want to scale, you can scale like this. That's without holding anything. If you want to constrain proportions, you're going to hold shift and you're going to drag, and it'll keep the same size. And if you want to scale from the center, you're going to hold shift and alt or option, and it scales from the center. So these keyboard shortcuts are really worth knowing. I just wanted to show you what I meant by they're like infinitely scalable. So if I get the zoom tool, which is Z or Z on the keyboard, go here, and if you just drag. See, now if this was a photograph or a bitmap image in Illustrator, in Photoshop, this would become very pixelated. So now we've reached the extent of how far we can go. But if you hold spacebar, you can move around like this with this little hand tool. But if you see down here, we have zoomed in 6,400%. And so if I'm zooming back out here by using Command or Control and the minus key, So you can see, you can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and you don't lose any detail. And that's the beauty of vector graphics. And so to understand Illustrator, that's the very first thing that you've got to understand. So now that we've understood that, let's think of something to do. I mean, this Illustrator is so vast that there's so much that you can do. So I'm trying to wonder, what are like the basics? I would say shapes and the pen tool and the text or type tool are, to me, like the essentials, like that you've got to learn from the beginning. So let's find an image. Okay, so why don't we start with the Lonely Viking logo, right? I'm going to drag that in. This is a library, by the way. You can keep all your assets in a library, which is very cool. So now, Illustrator does have layers like Photoshop, but they don't work in exactly the same way, because a whole bunch of these parts can be put together. Oh, that's a symbol. So they don't work in the same way, because you can put a whole bunch of stuff together and you can group it, and then it'll make groups within the layer that's part of the drop, and they can be dropped down like that. So, but anyway, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to lock that bottom layer, and then I'm going to show you how to recreate this logo. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Okay. I designed this logo, so if I can't recreate it, then I have a problem. So the first thing I would do is to make guides. Okay. So if you hit Command or Control R, that'll bring up these rulers. You see these rulers popped up on the side here. If you want to find them, you can go to be honest with you, I don't actually know. I've been using shortcuts for so long. You can go to View, and then Rulers is over there. Rulers, okay? So now what you can do is you can drag guides out from here, and they'll snap to stuff. So I'm going to snap there. Snap there. Oh man. Sorry, that's something else I'm working on. Oops. Drag the guards out. And I'm going to make guards on the inside here as well. Actually, we only need one, really. I'll make a guard at the top of the horns. This is symmetrical, so I'm going to make a guard in the middle, because then what you can actually do is just make half of it and then flip it and join it, which is quite cool. So I'm sure if you look at this, the first thing that you see is a circle. So let's start with a circle. Now, what I like to do if I'm tracing something is just choose like a crazy color so that they don't look close at all. So we go to the shape tool and select the ellipse tool, and then you're gonna go to the corner there where we've made our guides, which has made a square around that circle, and then hold shift. If you don't hold shift, you can make an oval. Okay, if you hold shift, it's going to let you make a circle, and you see now it's popped on there. So now we got our circle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy that circle. So Control C, Command C, and then paste it in place. So we want to paste it in exactly the same place. So I'll show you what happens. If I paste it, Command or Control V, it just pastes in some random place. If I do Command or Control F, it pastes on top, and you didn't see anything happen because it's right on top. So now what we're going to do is hold Shift and Option, or Shift and Alt, and scale it in, and we're going to go to that other guide that we had there on the left. Now we've got two circles. I'm going to change the color of this inside circle just so that it's different and we can see that it's different. So then I'm going to select the outside circle, hold shift, select the inside circle. Then I'm going to go down here to the pathfinder, and that probably won't be there by default when you've opened up Illustrator. So you can go to window and pathfinder. There it is there. Click the pathfinder. Now what we're going to do is these are options of what you can do with multiple shapes together. For the purposes of this one, we're going to divide, which means it's going to subtract that inside shape from the outside shape. So divide, and it looks like nothing happened. And then also what happened is it grouped these two. So you see if I move, they move together. So what I usually like to do is ungroup them, and you can do that by right clicking and choosing ungroup, or shift control and G, shift command G. So now I can select the inside one by itself, and if I hit delete or backspace, you'll see now I've got my outside circle. Now you might be wondering, why didn't I make a small circle with a big stroke? That's the thickness of this, and you'd be perfectly logical in thinking that we could do that, except that when let me just send this to the back. What am I doing? Okay, let me hide that. So when we want to cut out these, you don't want to have a stroke on a logo unless you want the stroke to always be visible on the logo. And what I mean by that is this logo, if I want this black logo to be on top of something and I want everything to be showing through, then I can't have a stroke where the horns are, right? In between the horns and the circle, because then my background won't show through. It will have a white stroke, and it'll have a white stroke around the whole helmet. So in order to use that divide tool again later with the helmet and the circle, in order to make that space, I've got to make sure that that big circle around there is a compound shape and not a stroke on the outside of a shape. Okay, I hope I'm not losing you here, but let's continue. So we've got our circle. Now we've got to make the helmet. Okay, now I'm going to use something called the pen tool, and the pen tool takes a little while to get used to. This is the pen tool over here, and what it does is it creates paths, right? And you see all those little anchor points are things that you can manipulate. So if I select this direct selection tool, I can move those around. But what's nice about the pen tool is that if you drag, it makes these handles that you can use to make curves. And then you can then, again, if you take the direct selection tool, now you can manipulate the anchor point and you can manipulate the handle. So this is how you would make more complex shapes. Just going to delete that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this helmet using the pen tool. I'm sure when I originally made it, I probably didn't do that. I probably made like a circle there and then cut the circle off and then made one horn and connected it and what have you. But I think this will be cool if we show you how to use the pen tool. So I'm going to click start over there, and now remember this thing is symmetrical, so we're going to make one half and then we're going to flip that half over and join it together. So I'm going to go there. Now you would think you could go right to that point and get that curve kind of perfect-ish like that. Okay, but when I've got to go this way from there, look what happens. And so this is why the pen tool can be a little bit difficult to get used to. So I'm going to have to make a point like somewhere over here and then over there, so that I can now start going this way. So I'm going to make that. Okay, that didn't work, so I'm going to make that. And that. This one, because I'm going, no, I can't actually. So let's do this. Okay, I've got a problem at the top there that I'm going to have to fix later. I'm going to have to fix that horn. So that sucks, but hey. This is a straight line, so just click straight, and then that's a little curved corner there. I'm going to flip these. Nope. It's actually a much easier way to do this. You can just trace it. But then you wouldn't learn how the tools work. So nah. We're getting there. It's a bit of a slow process. And when you're first learning, it can be quite frustrating. Okay, so we are now at our center point, and I'm just going to join those two. I'm going to switch back to that color. Zoom out. I'm going to go and hide this bottom layer. Hide the bottom layer. So, and I'm going to hide the guards. Let's check. The horn actually looks alright there. Where it doesn't look all right is over here. So maybe I think it's possible. So that's how the pen tool works, okay? So we've made half a mask. We're gonna again copy, so Command C and then Command F to paste in place. And then we're gonna go to Object, Transform, Reflect, and we're gonna reflect vertically. Say okay. Then I'm gonna grab that and I'm gonna hold Shift so it stays along the same. And then it's going to snap together. Now we've made our mask, but the problem is that is two shapes and we want it to be one shape, so I'm going to select both, go to the Pathfinder, and I'm going to unite them. Okay, they might not have been. Let me just go and see if they are fully together. See, this is the problem when you can zoom in infinitely. Things look like they're stuck together, but they're not. So we will overlap them very slightly. Okay. Now select them both and Pathfinder and merge, and you see that line in the center went away and I've got one unified shape. Now what I want to do is I want to create the gap between the circle and the helmet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that helmet and I'm going to go to Object, Path. Oh, okay, wait, offset path, that's a good one. Let's do that. So preview, and you can see there it's made another shape. It's scaled it out, except for that problem is that thing's a problem, although we're not going to use that, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm just going to say, let me I wonder if that gap's big enough. Let's make this 12 pixels. Yeah, let's go with 12 pixels. Okay, so you can see the gap there. I say okay. Now that shape is over there. I'm just, for the sake of this, so you can see it, I'm going to make it a different color. Okay, so we select that gray shape and the circle, and then we go to the pathfinder and we say divide, and then Shift Command G to ungroup them, and then I'm going to select that gray and I'm going to go to select same full color. So it's selected all the gray, and I'm going to delete it. And now we have the logo full on redrawn. So basically that showed you a little bit of the shape tools, a little bit of joining and separating, a little bit of the pen tool. I can see on the horn here, like it's not very smooth. I didn't do a great job. And there's still a path left behind there and there. So you learnt a few of the basics. If there's anything you're stuck on in Illustrator and there's anything you want to learn, just make a comment down below this video and I will do my very best to record something to show you what you want to learn as quickly as I can. Okay, maybe one thing I should show you is what do you do with this once you're done. Let's say you want it to be black. Select all of it. You can get colors from here. You can double click over here. You can go to the swatches panel over here. You can do what you will with that. Okay, so now let's say I want to export that. There's also artboards. This is something really cool. So that's artboard 1 because there is only one. I don't know how to get to the artboard tool actually, except for a shortcut. So it's Shift O. No, it's Shift. Shift E. No. Command O. Cancel. Shift Command O. No, what is it? I'm sure it's Shift O. It is Shift O. That's what I did. Okay, so the shortcut is Shift O. Then you can resize these artboards and you can copy them and stuff. And then I'll show you what's cool is like when you want to export, you can export all of them or some of them. The dimensions are also over here. So let's say you want your logo 500 pixels by 500 pixels. So we go 500 by 500. Yeah. And then I'm actually going to group this logo. So you can right click and say group, or you can just say Command or Control G. So now I'm gonna make it smaller, and then if I want it centered, I've got these alignment tools over here. Where are they? Window, align. So you can center stuff, but something you always have to be mindful of is what you're aligning it to. So this says align to artboard, so I'm not actually sure why it didn't do that. Oh, it's not selected. Fool. Still, what the heck? Is that not part of that artboard? Okay, so up here it's saying align to selection, and down here it was saying align to artboard. But anyway, maybe it's me. Just align to artboard, and then you can center align it. And now if you want to export, you just go File, Export for Screens. And what's cool here is you can do as many, you can do PNGs at 2 times, so that'll be 1000 by 1000, that's your 500 by 500. You can do an SVG, you can add a PDF. These are vectors, so they don't give you sizes, right? These are bitmaps, and if I do JPEG, then I can select here the size that I want. You can make it up to 4 times, you can make it smaller, blah blah blah, and then you just click export to artboard, export artboards, and it does it. Okay, you would have had to, what I didn't think of is set your destination. So I'm just going to do downloads over here so you can see, and then export artboard. And then if I go to my downloads folder, I have all of these. Cool. Like lovely, you know. Great, I hope you enjoyed that and it wasn't too long. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you like this channel, then please subscribe. Hit the little bell if you want to keep hearing about the videos. Our Facebook group is down below. Join that if you want. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Cheers.